shortly. So thank you all again for tuning in to Open Mic Wrestling Night here on Twitch live. Let me just let me just go through all the affiliations I have here that seem to pop up. There we go, at the bottom of the screen. Squared Circle Apparel, go to squaredcircleapparel.com. Use my code OMWN15 for 15% off your entire purchase. Fill in the Void Podcast Network, Spreaker.com/filling_the_void. Powerslam.tv, go there. Use the code PWPNation for your first month free on the service. And Powerhouse Nation, where I will hopefully be posting editorials there shortly. I know I keep saying that all the time, but I will eventually get to it. So yeah, that's with that for right now. Let's see if our guest is in at this time. Nope, not at the moment. Okay, so we got another minute or so. This is one of my favorite parts of doing the show. Okay, I think we have our guest here lined up. Is this Greywolf? Hello? Oh. Is this Greywolf?
Yes, this is Greywolf.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. Greywolf Raventhorne, thank you for taking the time to take a few minutes and join me here.
Thank you for having me, my friend. The honor is mine.
Absolutely. Now, I'm just going to put an aside here out there for a second. I believe I saw you one time live. I think you were working with, it was ECWA. I can't even tell you how many years ago this was, but I remember watching you then. I really liked your style and how you did things and your look, everything. I just wanted to acknowledge and just say I really like what you do and what in wrestling.
Oh, thank you very much. I much appreciate that. Yes, it's been a while since I've worked for ECWA, but that was a good time. I've wrestled for them a couple of times, and thank you.
Yeah, of course. So let's just get this out of the way here. Just for the audience here, how long have you been an active pro wrestler?
It's been a few years now. It's my 13th year now in business. I've been a pro wrestler.
13 years as a pro wrestler. Wow. Okay, so then let me ask this question right out of the gate here, since there's so much going on in the world of pro wrestling right now. What's the biggest difference in the world of pro wrestling from when you first started to now, where we're experiencing the biggest boom in pro wrestling, quite arguably since the Attitude Era? Like, explain what, for the people, for you personally, what growth have you seen? What's the difference in the locker rooms that you're sharing with these talents and the business as a whole?
That's a very, very good question, and so many fronts on which I can answer that. The biggest difference, really, the talent nowadays is so remarkably athletic and so remarkably talented, and there's a much more diverse pool and things to choose from, especially in the wrestling world now. I feel, back when I was first breaking in, you had WWE you could go to, and that's who you could really work for. The whole goal was to get to Vince, and you had maybe 30 to 40 roster spots available, and that's when Florida Championship Wrestling was still a thing, and they hadn't moved yet to NXT, and that was a developmental Florida Championship, so you had to go through Florida Championship to get to WWE, and it really was an exclusive sort of club that you're in. And during the time I was coming in, about 2006, 2007, when I really first established my career, everyone sort of had a cookie-cutter look to them and was very generic, and now I really feel like so much has broadened, and there's so much more diversity, and you could really pick and choose what style you like and which program you like. And there's so much remarkable programming out there now that you really can choose which style and which flavor of ice cream to say that you prefer. And as far as independence, there's so many more independents running now, and work back then was a little more few and far between and harder to come by. And the world is now so much different just with the advent of social media. Now you can put things up on your Facebook or your YouTube or your Twitter, and things are seen instantaneously. And it was still, when I had broken in, developing at the time. So the rate at which you can experience new products and experience new opportunities is just accelerated tremendously. And you are right, we are seeing the biggest boom time I've ever seen in the world of professional wrestling. It's just such a great time to be part of this business.
It really is, and actually, I had a tag team on here not too long ago, and one of the members had said that even in the locker rooms, it's very different. The way they explained it was there seems to be more camaraderie amongst the talents, and I mean, there's always been camaraderie, but like people are like really trying to help one another out now, and it's not so cutthroat anymore. I think you kind of alluded to that before. It's loose. It's not as tense because now there are options, and there are bigger options. There's other, ways to get your product and yourself out there. Could you maybe talk about that a little bit? Do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that?
I most definitely agree with it. I mean, you obviously good and bad, wherever you go, and I think you tend to find whatever you focus on. If you focus on the bad, you'll certainly find more of the bad, and if you focus on the good, you'll certainly find more of the good. And I think that it's just we're seeing a transcendent social attitude in general in the world. I think that more people are realizing, being negative and being bad, it might reward you short term, but long term, it really doesn't have any effect. It doesn't have the effect you desire. And so what we're seeing is we're really seeing, with the advent again, I go back to social media, things are just changing and shifting. You say one bad thing now, it's not 1988 anymore. If you say one bad thing, it can really soil your entire career. And being a bad person, the word gets out very, very quickly if you're not a good person. So also you're seeing a lot of that at the top too. You see that the Vince's levels, like, because I coach at the world famous Monster Factory, and two of the things I'll ask you is first is what kind of person are you? They want to know what kind of person you are because they don't want bad people working for them. There's so much of selection to choose from now. That's why would you want to have a bad, one bad apple spoils the entire bunch, how negativity can spread. And they're seeing that the benefit of having a positive energy and having that positive outlook far outweighs that. And the second thing is, are you coachable? Is another thing they ask for. But just the fact that, that's going on at the top tiers and that's sort of trickling down to all the levels down below, as you really see that. And I really do believe that has to do with the shift in overall social attitude and social temperament, that we can all succeed. Should we only lift each other up? There's enough room for all of us. And the more we lift each other up, the more friends we have. The more friends we have, the more greater social network we have. And it's a good benefit all around. And yes, I do see that, you hear about some of the old veterans, who are bitter, and, as you said, it was a little more cutthroat. And that attitude, especially with the generational shift and the shift in perspective, you're really seeing so many more people helping people out rather than tearing them down. And I believe it's a very beautiful thing to see. And it's something I put forth and try to encourage myself for the next generation to come. Always pay it forward, always give back, always help your fellow man, because when you're down, you'll have that many more friends to lift you up.
Absolutely. And another thing, because I remember when I was more involved with wrestling, like whether it be working or refereeing, but I remember hanging around with the guy, you might know him, Damian Dragon. He had said to me one time that the most important thing is, if one match looks good, if one person's in there trying to get themselves over, you could kind of tell, and it leaves a sour taste in everybody's mouth. I know I'm paraphrasing and I'm, misinterpreting some of his words here, but the way that I interpret it is, if everybody works together to put on an overall great show instead of trying to get themselves over, again, that's the sign of the times from back then to now, to more shows I've seen recently on the independent level. It seems like there is more emphasis on, hey, we can all actually have the good show, all of us, and more people want to come back to this product, and then eventually will then trickle down to us. How do you feel about that?
I look at it this way. First, want to touch on, if you ever, I'm a big fan of classical music, and if you ever listen to a good symphony, if the flautist is, trying to flaunt his talents over the rest when it's not his time to do so, it throws off the entire symphony. And the same thing with a movie. Let's say someone in a movie, is acting out in a way they shouldn't be acting, trying to get that emphasis on themselves. It takes away and detracts from the entire movie. And I think it's being taught more that, this is all a wrestling show it's like a symphony. And everybody has their part, and everybody, as long as they play their part, can work as a cohesive whole. And as long as they're doing the best of their ability, everything will work in and of itself. And I do think everybody sort of knows their spot on the card. There are those who, try to get the attention just on them, but it is good booking to know who to put in what spots and how to use them correctly so they're not overemphasizing themselves and not taking away from the rest of the story that you're trying to tell. Because a wrestling program, just like any other good piece of art, has its ups and has its downs. You just have to know your place on the card and where you're put in proportion and act appropriately and accordingly. And I feel that many locker rooms now are sort of cutting down on people taking too many liberties for themselves, especially in the name of time. And a lot of people I see are really abiding by that. And products are coming out better and better and better the more I'm around and the more I travel.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so we're on the line with Greywolf here. If you want to follow him on Twitter, if you're watching live here on Twitch, you can see his tag there on Twitter. If you're listening on the replay, it's at TLW_Greywolf. That's GREYWOLF. Greywolf, another question here. By the way, I want to actually get to this really quick. You do have a line of clothing coming out, and I did want to point this out. Dragon Slayer Warrior Wear, and you're having you're saying that you have product coming out soon with an official launch in March. Do you want to talk about that line a little bit? Because for what you've put out there on social media, I like the message, and I'm not gonna lie, I like the designs of all the clothing too. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, the whole idea behind the line is, it's called Dragon Slayer Warrior Wear. And what is slaying the dragon? Well, essentially, the spirit of the warrior is overcoming obstacles and overcoming adversity, taking the challenges with which we are confronted every day and giving them our absolute best, no matter what it may take inside of us, no matter how far we may be beat down, no matter how oppressed we may feel, that there is still that essence of victory within us, that one spark that keeps us driving and keeps us motivated and keeps us driving forth no matter what. That's the spirit of the warrior. And with Dragon Slayer, that's essentially what I'm trying to do, is take that when you see that logo and you see that you're wearing a Dragon Slayer shirt, or you see, someone else's, and you can see that instilled spirit inside of them. And I wanted to use that to bring that spirit out to them, to let people know that no matter what you may be facing, no matter what adversity, no matter what challenges, no matter what mountain you might have to climb, that there is always hope, and that spirit of the warrior within will get you through. That's just what Dragon Slayer is all about. That's what it is to slay the dragon.
I want to go to war now. After hearing that motivational speech, I want to go to war now. Behind you. But anyway, okay, so that's cool. I really like it, and I encourage people to keep out there and take a look at Dragon Slayer Warrior Wear on all the socials as well.
We'll have our first product officially in within next week. I'm going to receive the product next Wednesday, and we'll be coming out with more designs soon, and we're having an official launch party to really celebrate the blooming and blossoming of this brand from the seeds that I have planted on March 22nd. So if you follow me on social media, you'll be able to keep up with all of that.
And if you're following on social media, that's at TLW Greywolf. Let me just ask you something. For anybody who has never seen Greywolf, I mean, he's quite the physical specimen. He keeps himself in shape and everything. And I've been noticing on your tweets and stuff, like you've been getting into yoga among other things. Can you talk about that and adding that to your workout regimen? And I'm sure you said you're a coach over at the Monster Factory. For those who are listening, what kind of advice would you give for talent that, all right, lifting weights, that's what they're concentrating on, but maybe adding a little more diversity to their workouts, like a yoga or anything else that could really, quite frankly, help them out in the long run? Because I completely agree with doing the yoga and whatnot. It does help.
For many, many years, I was just strictly a lifter. I would lift the heaviest things I possibly could, and I was a bodybuilder, and I focused on my physique and how big can I get, and how strong can I get, and how can I use my regimen inside the gym to translate that to the ring, where I would just throw people and launch people across. Well, that was great, and it worked out fine, except that I was very, very inflexible, and my mobility suffered. And I found that actually caused me injury down the road. So for anybody in not just professional wrestling, but any sport or even in life in general, I highly recommend yoga. It increases your flexibility, it increases your mobility, and